it looks like Jen Rosati and Dawn Staley and all those folks that Cheryl Reeve, who had a hand in Caitlin Clark not making Team USA last year in the Olympics, the actual committee, looks like they may be gone.
What happens when the most marketable athlete in women's basketball gets left off the Olympic team? Apparently, heads roll.
I'd rather watch paint dry. I'd rather watch dirt just be moved around because Caitlin Clark's not on the team. If she's there, it's appointment TV. You people, whoever did this, honestly, hey, take your brain, put it in a museum, and study it for how dumb you are.
What occurs when the most marketable player in women's basketball is omitted from the Olympic squad? It seems like a heads roll.
It used to be a committee. Dawn Staley, Jennifer Rizzuti, and all of the hooligans associated in picking the USA basketball team. All of the hooligans, Cheryl Reeves included, so full of themselves, so bound by tribalism that they just couldn't look past their own nose. And at the end of the day, look at them now. Look at them now. The same fate as Cheryl Swoops calling those Dallas Wings games. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
What truly happened to Cheryl Reeve and the U.S. Olympic Committee? If you're thrilled about Caitlin's participation in the Olympics, leave a comment below with CC 2028. In what can only be described as karma in action, USA Basketball has announced a complete overhaul of its selection process following the Caitlin Clark Olympic snub, and people are getting fired. Bird is now in charge, and suddenly the Indiana Fever star's path to Los Angeles 2028 looks very different for the Indiana Fever star.
Remember during the Olympics, the person from either South Korea or Japan, holding up the Caitlin Clark sign? Team USA looked at that gentleman and said, $, $, $. These people over there in Japan, these people over there in South Korea, they're not paying for Team USA to come and watch hoop, but they'll pay for Caitlin Clark. In fact, they are so strong about voicing that they'll pay for Caitlin Clark, they'll come to the Olympic game holding a sign that says, you guys remember.
According to Jen Rosati, the chair of the selection committee, the Olympic Committee had a rationale for not including Caitlin Clark on the team. Or at least, that's what they wanted us to think. The choice was made solely on the basis of basketball. Criteria: experience was important, international play was important, and marketability and popularity were not taken into consideration.
The National Basketball Association, the NBA, the commissioner, Adam Silver, he came right out and said, I wouldn't have left Caitlin Clark off that team. And he even said, and several others said, women's basketball really dropped the ball on an opportunity to grow the women's game by leaving Caitlin Clark off that team.
What are you telling me? They disregarded the most talented player in women's basketball, who also happened to break almost all of the NCAA scoring records and change the face of women's basketball in less than a year. It makes sense, and it's not just about fame. Clark had a lot of international experience playing for Team USA in the FIA Under-19 tournament, where he won gold twice and was named tournament MVP.
This is about what I will personally label the idiocy of Team USA women's basketball. How dare you make this decision? It's stupid.
Let's examine what really transpired when Clark joined the WNBA. Ticket prices increased by several times their usual amount, and anytime the Fever visited a city, teams that couldn't fill half of their arena experienced unexpected sellout crowds. It wasn't even close, and let's not forget that during her historic rookie season, Clark's jersey became the highest-selling rookie jersey in WNBA history. The Indiana Fever's opening game against the Connecticut Sun had higher ratings than any NBA playoff game that weekend.
Hey, dummies. For the first time, in the history of basketball, you have arguably a player who is the most popular player in the world. You could argue right now, Caitlin Clark is the most talked about, discussed, most popular, most puts asses in the seats, single basketball player in the world. You could argue that. Yeah, you could say maybe LeBron, Luka, whatever you want, but you can argue it. and you leave her off the Olympics team, it's not only a showcase for her, it's for the sport and the other WNBA players who are on this team. How dumb, how brain dead, how idiotic do the people running this thing have to?
These weren't merely small adjustments. Rather, they represented a radical change in the way that women's basketball was viewed, and the Olympic Committee somehow determined that the player wasn't worth enough for the squad. The reaction was swift, and basketball experts quickly saw through the flimsy defense. Stephen A. Smith didn't mince words when he denounced the ruling as one that deliberately hampered women's basketball's development at a crucial juncture. Four-time Olympic gold medalist Lisa Leslie referred to it as the greatest marketing blunder in basketball history.
I think if Caitlin Clark would have played, it would have been the biggest ratings of the Olympic Games last year. All right, and yeah, I don't know what it could have done to women's basketball.
You know what? This actually revealed an antiquated system that was operated by individuals who were unwilling to adapt. The committee didn't understand that Clark wasn't just a gifted player. Rather, she was a once-in-a-generation chance to put women's basketball on the global scene. Consider it. They continued to function as if it were still 2004, when women's basketball was vying for any attention at all. Casual audiences typically overlook sports during the Olympics, but the A committee purposefully left out the one player who had demonstrated her ability to draw in those particular viewers.
But as a coach of the home team, there's going to be a lot of people cheering for that other side. I
don't get two shits.
How about one?
Not even one shit.
Any second guessing here about not having Clark on the Olympic team?
From me.
This was about women's basketball missing its moment, not simply about Clark passing up a chance. The public outcry was too loud to ignore the error and too obvious to defend, due to the committee's obstinate insistence on putting experience before star power. But as awful as the public outcry was, it turned out that the Olympic snub was only the visible portion of the iceberg behind the scenes. The entire operation of USA Basketball was beginning to display obvious flaws, and the Clark decision wasn't an isolated error. Rather, it was the inevitable outcome of a malfunctioning organization that was poised to collapse around its creators.
Along with nearly losing the gold medal game to France, the U.S. women's team was caught up in controversy leading up to the Olympics because Caitlin Clark was not on the team. The argument not to take Clark, a rising global megastar in the sport, was in part because she had not participated in many Team USA offseason functions, and also because there were women with more national team experience who had earned the right to play at the Olympics.
Cheryl Reeve would like you to think she had nothing to do with Caitlin Clark's exclusion from the Olympic squad. According to her, she had no say in the team's selection, and even claimed she took a lot of bullets for USA Basketball. Nice attempt, Coach, but the facts paint a totally different picture.
She is good enough to be on the team. Based on how Caitlin Clark was playing at the time, she was worthy of being on this team. This is Caitlin Clark up against Jewel Lloyd, Diana Taurasi, and Kelsey Plum. Yeah, it's tough when you see it in front of you, right? Chelsea Gray's not even on this graph. Why isn't Chelsea Gray on this graph, you may ask? Great question. Chelsea Gray started the beginning of the season injured.
Even though there were other voices in the room, Reeve's influence over the selection process was evident. Jen Rosati, the chair of the selection committee, acknowledged that the team was assembled especially for Reeves's coaching style. So when Reeves claims she had no authority, what she really means is that she refused to accept responsibility when fans asked why the most dynamic player in women's basketball was watching from home.
Caitlin Clark, based on skill, based on how she was performing, deserved to be on that team. Based on Chelsea Gray coming off hobbled from injury, you don't even know the status of her as a player. Caitlin Clark should have been on that team. She was easily one of the best players from Jump Street. Her struggling, oh my God, she's struggling with 16 points, 6 assists, and 5.5 rebounds. Oh my God, the struggle. She's shooting 39%. Yeah, Jewel Lloyd always shoots like trash. Kelsey, you got... Come on, guys.
The players on the final squad were veterans who fit Reeves's system, and guys who valued defense over attacking power. The committee's selections were entirely consistent with Reeves' Minnesota Lynx mentality, which almost lost Team USA the gold medal. In a game they were expected to dominate throughout the tournament, the USA barely prevailed 67-66 against France. The team struggled to produce a consistent offense in key situations, the ball was not moving, and there was insufficient three-point shooting whenever the defense gave up on Aja Wilson or Brianna Stewart inside. These are the exact reasons why a player like Clark could have made the difference. The group